The Lowcountry Food Bank believes that cooking matters in our fight to end food insecurity. We bring to you our virtual nutrition education series, Cooking Matters in Our Community.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma. I'm part of the Lowcountry Food Bank's nutrition team, and I'm here today to bring you another video of our virtual education series. Today we're going to be talking all about vegetables. We're going to review some tips for purchasing fresh produce. We'll talk about storing and freezing vegetables, and then we'll get to the fun part and we'll be making a roasted vegetable dish. So let's get started. There are different ways you can purchase fruits and vegetables in the grocery store. There's fresh, frozen, and canned. These are all great options for filling half your plate with fruits and vegetables, but today we're going to be focusing on fresh. Each three options have their benefits and disadvantages. Fresh food will bring texture and color to your plates, but it also is more expensive and has a shorter shelf life. Here are some tips that you can use when you're in the fresh produce section. Tip number 1 is buying in season. Buying local seasonal vegetables tend to be cheaper. Ever wonder why strawberries are so expensive in the winter? That's because they're not seasonal in the United States. They're shipped thousands of miles to your neighborhood grocery store. This means they aren't as nutritious either. Here is a South Carolina seasonal produce chart you can reference. You can also look when you're in the store. A lot of times seasonal produce will be in abundance. It will say it's on sale and it will be showcased at the store. Keep an eye out for these deals the next time you go grocery shopping. Tip number 2 is to buy in bulk. Buying in bulk can be a lot cheaper. For instance, a 3-pound bag of onions costs $1.99, and individual onions cost $1.29 a pound. That means that the 3-pound bag of onions is 66 cents per pound, nearly half the price if you were to buy them individually. So rather than buying individual produce, look for 3-pound bags of produce like potatoes, onions, lemons, and some more. Tip number 3 is to buy produce in its whole form. Baby carrots and shredded lettuce are going to be a lot more expensive than whole carrots or a head of lettuce. Not only does it cost more, but it's going to probably have a shorter shelf life if it's already prepared and chopped. If you really want to save time and money on these prepared vegetables, you should go look in the frozen aisle. These vegetables will be cheaper and will last longer. Now that we've reviewed these tips, let's talk about how to store and freeze fresh vegetables. It's important to store vegetables correctly so they last longer and are more fresh and edible for us to enjoy. It can also help you take fewer trips to the grocery store, thus saving money and reducing waste. So let's talk about how to store some of our vegetables. So here we have some sweet potatoes and some onions. These are both vegetables that you do not want to store in the refrigerator. Storing potatoes in the fridge is too cool and can make them moist and go bad a lot faster. So these types of vegetables we want to store away from the sun, on our counter, or in a pantry somewhere. Other vegetables that should be stored in a cool, dry, dark area include onions, shallots, garlic, all types of potatoes, and hard squash like winter acorn, spaghetti, and butternut squash. Now let's talk about vegetables that you should store in the fridge. Here is a table that shows what vegetables store best in your refrigerator and how long they will last. You can see that carrots, parsnips, turnips, beets, and radishes, all root vegetables, can last up to 2 weeks to a month. That's a pretty long time. Other vegetables like eggplant, peppers, peas, cucumbers can last up to a week. You have a few that last 3 to 5 days, and then your lettuce and other leafy greens have a range of 3 days to 1 week, depending on the delicacy of the leaves. Use this table when you're planning your weekly meals. This way you can reduce food waste and save some money. We've reviewed storing vegetables both in a dry, cool area and in our refrigerators. Let's talk about freezing vegetables. This is a good practice, especially if you're buying in bulk. These are the 5 main steps to freezing vegetables. First, bring the water to a boil while you clean and prep the vegetables. Second, place the cleaned, cut-up vegetables into a pot of boiling water or into a steamer basket over boiling water. Third, cook for typically 3 to 5 minutes depending on the vegetable. Next, drain the vegetables and immediately plunge the blanched veggies into ice water or run cold water over them. You want to cool the food down as quickly as possible so that it doesn't continue cooking from the residual heat. After this, when the food has been quickly cooled, drain and dry it well. With leafy greens, squeeze out as much liquid as possible. Excess liquid results in poor quality frozen food. And lastly, we'll place the blanched vegetables into freezer bags or containers and place them in the freezer. You can repeat that process for freezing lots of different vegetables. Like you saw, it just takes a few minutes, and now your vegetables are prepped and ready to go when you're having a busy week. So now that we've reviewed purchasing, storing, and freezing vegetables, let's get to our recipe for the day. Today we're making a vegetable medley with carrots, sweet potatoes, and onions. It's a super easy recipe that you can add in any other vegetables that are in season or that you have in your fridge. So let's get started. Here is the recipe we will be loosely following today. Along with our vegetables, we will be adding olive oil, dried rosemary, and some thyme. Feel free to use any other herbs that you enjoy. We're going to start by preheating the oven to 400 degrees. And then we're going to wash our vegetables to get them ready to prep. Your claw hand and always make the first chop to form a flat surface. We want to cut them into cubes that are all similar in sizes. That way, they will cook evenly. The bigger you chop, the longer they will take to cook. We're going to peel our carrots and then cut them as well. And then lastly, we have our onion. Remember, we want to cut the stem side off and then we'll cut it in half so we have a flat surface to work with. And just make a few chops. Now that all our vegetables are chopped, we're time to toss in the olive oil and the seasonings. And then we'll evenly spread our vegetables onto the baking sheet. And when the oven is ready, they will go in for about 30 to 40 minutes. All right, our vegetables are ready. Let's pull them out. Smells delicious and ready to eat. To wrap up, write down your favorite tips for saving money when buying fresh veggies, storing and freezing veggies to keep them longer, or a quick recipe with some of those vegetables that store well. Join us next time for some more tips and tricks from the Low Country Food Bank's nutrition team.
For more information and recipes, visit lowcountryfoodbank.org/nutrition. And to learn where our food pantries and feeding partners are, visit lowcountryfoodbank.org and click Find Help.